All right, I clicked the live button, so we should be live. Let me check one or two things here. And thanks everybody for tuning in for the live, and thanks everybody for watching it after the fact. It is working and we are live. But real quick, I'm going to give a quick introduction. What is today? Today's Wednesday. I got back on Monday from my hunt to South Africa. We've been filming a bunch of videos leading up to South Africa. What are we taking? What's the ammo? Where are we going? If you missed any of those videos, definitely go check them out. But I have live today. We're doing a recap and talking about hunting in South Africa with my friend John McAdams from Big Game Hunting Adventures and the Big Game Hunting blog. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. Good friend of mine, John.
Adam, thanks a lot for joining. Thanks a lot for having me.
No, thanks for coming on to talk about South Africa. So I've got to give credit to John. If it wasn't for him, I would have never gone on this trip to South Africa. I had the time of my life all last week, and we filmed a bunch of it, so stay tuned. We got tons more videos coming out.
Well, it was great having you over there, Adam. You know, for those that don't know, you and I met each other in a hunt in Colorado all the way back in 2022.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Oh, almost exactly. Yeah, we were there in early October, weren't we? Yeah. And man, that was a fun hunt, and it was good becoming friends with you on that hunt, and it was our pleasure to host you on this hunt that you recently went on in South Africa.
I'm still smiling.
That is the thing about it. Yeah.
It was so much fun.
You know, CJ McElroy was he was the first head of Safari Club International, and he said that the only hunters he was jealous of were those that had never been to Africa because they had so much to look forward to. And I know that's how I felt when I went over there on that first trip. It just blew my mind. I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And I've seen so many other people do that, and it's a pleasure. It's really cool to watch you experience that now.
Yeah, I cannot wait to get through all the footage and get all that edited and see the videos back and relive it. But it was awesome, and I didn't know exactly what to expect, but it exceeded my expectations by far.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all will see it in the videos when they come out. They'll be out soon.
Yeah, so when I told you before you went over that you'd see more game in a day of hunting there that you do all year in the United States, did you believe me?
I mean, I know you well enough to trust your word, so I believed you, but I don't think it computed fully on what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw animals I never even heard of, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I mean, cool. I think there's something like 20 species that you can hunt there, plus a bunch of birds and reptiles and all sorts of other things that you just happen upon when you're out there.
Yeah, they even said they had honey badgers and pythons. Mm-hmm. And I said, if we see one of those, get the cameras because I'm gonna grab one. It might get a little western, but we didn't end up seeing the honey badgers or the python. So
yeah, honey badgers are one of those animals that they live in a lot of Africa, but there's never real dense populations of them. If you see one, that's an incredible treat to see one on a trip. But let's start from the beginning with this deal with you, and we'll kind of talk through the whole process of what was like getting this hunt organized, getting your gun paperwork together, travel, and then we can talk a little bit about the hunt. But I don't want to go into super duper detail on the hunt because I know you're going to have a bunch of videos coming out where you really cover that stuff in really good detail. So, like when we were initially getting this thing set up, I ended up sending you over on our quote unquote first timers package. Right, so it's a week, and it has the 4 animals that you're probably gonna see a lot of, and that a lot of people are interested in hunting, and there's good hunting for over there. But it was also set up in such a way where you could, if you don't shoot something, you don't pay the trophy fee for it. And if you see something else, like ended up happening with you, you just pay that extra trophy fee and then you roll on with it. Do you have any thoughts on that initial process, just getting this thing set up?
So, me never being I'm messing my words up here. Me never having hunted in South Africa, I really didn't know what to expect. And I think there's kind of that in the back of my mind. It's too complicated. It's too far,
Mm-hmm.
But after we talked about it more and more, I mean, essentially, there's no hiccups at all whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The paperwork to the flights to everything was super easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just like hunting anywhere else, except for a little bit longer of a plane ride and maybe one or two pieces of paper to sign.
Yeah.
It really was that simple.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that know they want to hunt Africa, and they might have a general idea of, okay, I want an impala or I want a kudu or something, but most of these animals they've never heard of. I know you were like getting on my website and looking at pictures of a lot of this stuff just to try and figure
Yeah.
out what the heck it was. And that's what a lot of people do as well. And then it kind of crystallizes around that. But it's the nice thing about it is it's something that we can be flexible with, and we can make some changes. If you, like I said, if you don't shoot something, or if you see some other stuff over there that you weren't initially planning on hunting, but you get an opportunity at a nice one, and then we kind of get that whole deal locked in. And then you were like a lot of Americans going over there, where you wanted to bring your own rifles.
Yep.
That's a process that's really intimidating for people that have never been before. Talk a little bit about that from your perspective, doing it for the first time.
Yeah, so I had never flown with guns, period, even in the U.S. until probably right around the time you and I first met 2 years ago or so. That might have been the first time I ever flew with a rifle. When we were hunting in Colorado, I used my own 25-06 and my own 35 Wellin for that hunt. And even flying within the U.S., I was apprehensive and is this going to cause problems? Flying in the U.S., it's you say, hey, I have a gun in this locked case. You put a piece of paper in the box. That's literally it. I've flown pretty much every airline now doing it. It's very easy. Flying to South Africa, exact same process. I went to the Delta desk. I said, hey, I have a locked. I put my ammo that I took my own ammo too. I put it in a pistol case, just a small case, locked it, put it in my check bag. And then I had my big rifle case, which is pretty obvious what that is. Told him at the desk, this is a locked rifle case. Exact same thing. Exact same piece of paper. Sign this that pretty much says it's not loaded. Put it in the thing. They didn't even inspect it. And for the ammo, I said, do you need to see the ammo? They said, nope. It was literally that simple. Telling them I have guns in this case. It's locked. They say, yep, the locks are locked. And they put it on, and then we picked it up in Africa. That's literally it. I have guns. Sign this paper that says it's not loaded, and that's it. That was it.
Now, when you go to South Africa, every country over there is a little bit different, but in South Africa, you can go over there just like that if you want to. And then when you get there, you need to get a rifle import permit at the police office in the airport. They deal with thousands of hunters a year, though, so it's not that big of a deal. But like, say you were on the Delta flight going over from Atlanta. Do you have any idea how many other hunters were on that flight with you?
There were a few. Yeah. So it was a very interesting flight because it's a big plane. It's going across the ocean. And it was absolutely a melting pot per se. I'm thinking in my head, and I even mentioned it to my wife, like, why are all these people going to South Africa at the same time we are? There was probably, I don't know, 15 to 20 other guys wearing a camo shirt and looking like me, and that were obviously hunting. And let me take a step back before we quit talking about flying with guns. It was super easy, but you guys did help me with that whole process. What's the form? The South African police form.
The SAPS 520.
SAPS 520. So we filled that out ahead of time. And then you guys had, you could probably speak to it better than I can. But when I showed up, they were already there and had me pre-approved. So when I picked up my rifles at the airport in South Africa, the police were just there and said, you're good. Like literally 3 seconds. And I met the guys that you had there that had it all pre-approved and stuff. So.
Yeah. So if you go over, like, especially on that Delta flight, like in July, like right in the middle of the hunting season, when lots and lots of Americans are going over there, there might be 100 hunters on that plane with you. And
wow,
not all of them are going to be bringing their own gun. Some of them will bow hunt. Some of them will be using the outfitters' rifles. But there'll be a lot of people trying to get their rifles pre-approved or get them approved. And so what we do to make that as painless as possible is we get it pre-approved. So you do your SAPS 520, send it to us with some other stuff. We get it submitted, get it stamped, and then when you get there, they just have you open your case, and then they look and make sure the guns you have match what's on your rifle, and then that's it. So you go to the front of the line, do that, and then you leave. Instead of some of these other guys. I know there was one guy I talked to that hunted with a different outfitter, said he was waiting in there for 3 hours, like for a July hunt, to get all that stuff taken care of. And it's not super hard to do that paperwork, but it's something you need to do. And so we give you that information guide that helps you get it all sorted out and everything before you go there, step-by-step instructions. I know you went to the airport in Nashville, got your Customs 4457 taken care of. So you needed that. You needed that coming back to the United States, and
that was kind of interesting too. We can talk about that real quick. So
sure,
I didn't know what to expect coming back either, but it was no big deal getting your guns back in the U.S. So we landed back in Atlanta, and I had my suppressor paperwork. We just got a question, and they're actually asking about this, so we can talk about it for a second. I took 2 suppressors with me, and on the 4457 form, it's essentially you're telling the paperwork or the U.S., I'm taking this with me. I didn't buy this over there and try to bring it back. I had that and my guns on that form, and then I had my suppressor tax stamps. So when they were searching my stuff coming back into the country, I had those 4457s, and then I also had my tax stamps in both my hands like this at the customs coming back into the country in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
The guy says, don't open the case, just unlock it. Okay. And I got my paperwork in both my hands. I'm expecting him to say, show me your papers, show me your papers. He opens the thing and sees that little card. It's normally an orange card that says I had guns and I signed that there wasn't loaded or whatever. And he just opens it up, looks at the guns. I had my suppressors wrapped up in T-shirts sitting on top of the guns.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even look at the suppressors. And he didn't even match my paperwork to the serial numbers. He just looked at it, said 2 guns. He said, you got 2 guns? I said, yeah. He said, okay. Boop. And he didn't even look at my paperwork. Like, okay. So I had all the paperwork that they could have asked for my suppressors and my guns coming back into the U.S., but the guy didn't even look at it. It's like, well, okay. It's all good, man.
Well, I'm glad you had it ready to go just in case there was an issue and they did want to see it. But so we got all this taken care of. And actually, I see someone asking how long the whole process took. So you and I got this hunt sorted out in late January of this year. We met at the SCI in Nashville, and we kind of talked about it for a little bit beforehand, and then got that whole thing, like booked the hunt then. And then like over the course of the next few months, you made your drive to Nashville to get the 4457s. And I know around that same time you did your SAPS 520 and whatnot. So like all of that, it took you a few months to do it, but like it wasn't like working solid for those few months. It was you do something this day and you do something that day and that sort of thing. I've had people come over on as short of a turnaround as like 3 weeks, and we could get a firearms license taken care of in that time if you hurry with it, but it's not that big of a deal. So usually a lot of people are booking about a year out, but like I said, I've seen everything from about 3 weeks to about a year and a half, and most people fall in that time frame for Jacob who's asking that. So we got you to the airport, you got your gun taken care of. Then you get in the truck and you drive to camp with Yossi that night, and you got a long drive, make it into camp in the middle of the night. But man, I'll bet. So like how'd you sleep on the flight? All that stuff getting over, because you flew direct from Atlanta. So that's the fastest way to get here from the United States, but it's still a long trip doing that.
Yeah. So I got a bug flying around in here. The flight from Atlanta to Johannesburg was 16 hours. And it was 15 hours on the way back. But I'm a big guy, and I don't fit on planes very well. So I didn't sleep at all. But the they got TVs on those big planes. I binged watched some TV shows the way there and on the way back. And I mean, almost everyone else on the plane was asleep the whole time. Like my wife went with me. She slept like 8-9 hours each flight, and I took cameraman Charlie with us too, and he did the same thing. But they're little people, and they fit on airplanes.
I mean, that's funny. It never fails to amaze me on that flight. You sleep for 8 hours on it, and then you still have another 8 hours to go to eat and watch movies or do whatever else you're going to do on it. So the flights like that are when I wish you could get on the Concorde and fly from Atlanta down to South Africa supersonic. But
well, I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, they give you 3 meals each flight, and it's plenty of TV to watch or sleep.
Yeah,
it really didn't bother me at all. And then you always hear people talk about jet lag. I didn't have any issues going there or back. But.
Good. So you get there in the probably like late at night, actually get into camp, go to bed, wake up next morning, have breakfast, hit the range, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every day we met at about 6:30 a.m. So like shortly after the sun comes up. But yeah, the first day we went right to the range, and my rifles were still dead on. So no problems flying with the rifles or anything. They were still dead on. And then we headed out.
All right. And so what was the first animal you ended up killing on this hunt?
Blessed buck, which is one of the animals that I had never heard of until I booked the hunt and looked up the pictures and stuff. That was the very first one we took. First day.
And you shot that with the Creedmoor, didn't you?
6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the guns that you brought, and then we can talk about the Blessed buck and some of the other stuff.
So, and I know you guys kind of were ribbing me a little bit about the 6.5 Creedmoor. And I even talked to Cobus when I got there. I said, I know you're apprehensive about this 6.5 Creedmoor. And John told me I had better not miss or wound anything. I better impress you with this gun. So, and we sighted it and it's dead on. So that was kind of the first step of, okay, this guy, at least he can shoot a piece of paper where he wants to.
There we go. Yeah.
I think we set up the target at like 120 yards at the range. So, but then we went out after the range, confirmed both the rifles were on. I took 6.5 Creedmoor, Savage Axis. It's actually Savage Axis 2 Pro they just came out with. So Savage Axis and 6.5 Creedmoor, and then a Savage Impulse in 30-06. And for the 6.5 Creedmoor, I took the Blessed buck, dropped where it stood, no tracking. And then also 6.5 Creedmoor, I took I keep forgetting how to say it right. Steinbuck.
So I always say Steinbuck. They spell it Steinbuck.
Yeah, that's why I keep getting confused. Yeah. But it's a little deer-looking antelope thing, which is very cool. Saw lots of them. Even where we weren't hunting, like just driving out on the highway, they'd be standing there in the ditch. Very cool.
Yeah, for the listeners that are watching this that don't know what a Steinbuck is, I don't have a picture of one handy, but it's about the size of a baby deer. They're like 30, 40 pounds. And they have short, straight horns that are, I mean, this is a big one that's like 5 inches long. And so they're a cool little animal. They're called a pygmy antelope. There's a challenge that some people do over there called going after the tiny 10. There's 10 species of real small antelope. Steinbok is one of them. Diker is another one. And we have some Diker there, but not as many as Steinbok. And
we saw some of those.
Yeah.
Blue Dikers.
Yeah, so there's a blue Diker, a red Diker, and a gray Diker. We have the common Diker where you were hunting. I have been on the trail of a Diker for like the last 10 years, and I have not been able to get on one. I missed one.
We saw like 3 while I was there.
And how many Steinbok you think you saw?
Probably 50.
Yeah.
it might have been the same one a couple different times, but we saw them quite a bit.
Yeah. There's a ton of them there. Okay, so you got your Blessed buck, your Impala, and your Steinbok, all with the Creedmoor, right?
Yep, Impala too. Yep.
And then you got your wildebeest and zebra with your 30-06.
Yep, and both of those dropped right where they stood as well. No tracking. The only thing we had to track out of the 5 animals was the Impala, and it went maybe 50 yards. But it was a perfect right through both lungs, perfect broadside shot, and it went 50 yards with the Creedmoor.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's great. I love hearing that. You know, it shows you put it in the right spot and all of that stuff. And I like to joke about the Creedmoor and everything, but I really like it myself. I hunt with it all the time. I took it to Colorado for that antelope hunt you and I went on, and it worked great.
This was my first time hunting with it.
Oh,
I had
really?
never taken a deer or anything with 6.5 Creedmoor, just done paper and long range stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I practiced a lot with both of these rifles. I actually took 3 days off prior to coming, and I didn't even film what I was doing. Normally, if I'm shooting guns, I'm filming it.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even film. I told my wife I'm not taking cameras. This is serious business. We got to make sure that the ammo's grouping good and all that stuff. And I was literally at the range almost 3 full days, just taking my time and practicing and making sure it was going to work when we went to Africa. And for the sake of filming, I like them to drop where they stand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on one hand, it proves that you're confident in your equipment and you can put the bullet where you want it. Two, I mean, I think it's just better for video. But the Impalas, we were having to chase them kind of hard. So it was. I can talk about this for a second because I thought it was just really fun where we were hunting. And you've been there, so you know where I'm talking about. There's some areas that are pretty thick thorn bushes, like you can't see 5 yards. And then there's other kind of, I don't know what you'd call them, grasslands or bottoms, where in a couple spots you might be able to see 300 yards or so. Mm-hmm. And that's actually where I got the wildebeest at 225 yards. But the Impala, they would wind us and back and forth, and we were just having a little bit harder time getting one in the scope. There was 2 times where I had a ram in the scope that I could have squeezed the trigger on, but since we were filming it, I was just giving it an extra 2, 3, 4 seconds to make sure the camera guy was on the animal. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not like they're just standing there. Like, by the time we had seen Impala, they had almost always heard or seen us first. So then you're like slow moving, you know the whole jig. But there were 2 Impala rams I had in my scope that I probably could have squeezed the trigger on, but I was just waiting a little bit too long for the cameraman. So once we got on the one that I ended up taking, I was like, I'm not trying to worry about dropping them. I'm just going to give them a perfect through the lung shot, 0 risk essentially shot with a target this big. And he only went 50 yards. Mm-hmm. Creedmoor went through him.
Did you, what all bullets did you end up recovering? You recovered one from your Zebra, right?
Yeah, I got them right here. So it's kind of cool. And I'm going to do a video specifically on these. These are the bonded 172 grain.
Sierra, right? Sierra Impacts?
Sierra Impacts that Remington loads, they call it their premier long range. But both the Zebra and the wildebeest, we got the bullets out of. The wildebeest was almost perfect broadside, and it was stuck in the opposite ribs. And then the Zebra, did I say Zebra? Wildebeest, that one was.
Yeah, you just said wildebeest. Yeah.
The Zebra was almost dead on to us, slightly quartered. And I went bottom of the neck, and it hit lungs and spine and dropped it. And it was in the opposite rib shoulder too.
So you shot your wildebeest and your Zebra with the 30-06, 1 shot each, recovered both bullets from those 2 animals. Yep. They both went straight down. And then you shot your Blessbach, Steenbach, Impala, the 6.5 Creedmoor. All of those bullets exited, though.
Went through.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the even though we had never had a client bring a 30, we had lots of people bring 30-06s over. Even though we never had anyone bring a 6.5 Creedmoor over, I figured it would be fine, especially on the animals that you were planning on shooting it with. So what was Kubis's thoughts on the Creedmoor at the end of the hunt?
I mean, you'll have to ask him and see what he thinks. But, I mean, it's just like anything else. If you have something larger, you're going to have more energy and maybe a little bit more forgiveness if your shot is off. But at the end of the day, if you're if you shoot them with the 300 Win Mag in the rear end, you're still not going to drop them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I tell this to people all the time. I'd rather you have a 6.5 Creedmoor or 270 or 308 that you can put it right where you want than a 7 mag or a 338 mag that you can't shoot, and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a client that's hunted with us twice, and he's also hunted moose and caribou. He's a big 270 guy. He's a one rifle kind of guy. He hunts everything with a 270, and he brought a 270 with 150 grain Nosler partitions over and just smacked everything with it. Everything was one shot. He recovered one bullet. He recovered his bullet from his kudu that he killed on his first hunt, but everything else, Gemsbach, zebra, wildebeest, Inyala, Impala, all that straight on through and through animal either fell right there or died within 50 yards, like you're talking about. So yeah, we'd like to, people talk about how African game is bigger and tougher than American game. And that's kind of true depending on what you're talking about, but they're not bulletproof with that stuff. And if you shoot them appropriately, and usually with African game, you shoot them instead of behind the shoulder, straight through the shoulders. And if you do that with a 30-06 or something similar with a good bullet, you'll get results like what you had. So I was glad to see that you had great results with that stuff and that you killed everything cleanly, and it wasn't hard to find anything afterwards.
Yeah, no. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you hit them in the heart or you hit them in the spine or hit them in the lungs, they're going to go down, they're going to go down. And I was joking with Cobus, even on the zebra and the wildebeest, both times, just because I like being goofy, where it's like, oh, you spot them, and there's that, your heart's going, your energy's racing, your adrenaline's going. And I still found time to joke around with him because on the back of the truck or behind the cab, he has those typical rifle racks, just the U that you put your rifles in. You can grab them out quick. Mm-hmm. Riding them with them loaded in the mag, but not hot in the chamber, So we see the zebra, we see the wildebeest both times. I look at him and I was like, 6.5 Creedmoor? and he's like, no. he's shaking his head. No, 30-06. Like, okay. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun hunting with them. And I'm sure you've met Philemon too. They hunt together. I really had a lot of fun hunting with them and joking around the whole time.
I went on my first hunt with Philemon and with Kubis back in 2014. So almost 10 years ago. I was there in November of 2014, and that was not my first trip to Africa, but that was my first trip hunting with them. And man, it was so fun. And I hunted with both of them last year, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. Can you talk a little bit about just kind of what a day was like after you'd wake up and have breakfast? How would you guys hunt? What was it like hunting with Kubis as a guide, with Philemon as a tracker, and all of that stuff?
Yeah, so this was when we went the very last week of August. So when we got up in the mornings, it was, depending on the day, 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. And then by noontime, it'd be close to 90. So almost a 50-degree swing. Mm-hmm. In the mornings, my wife was wearing a sweatshirt. I just wore what I was hunting with because I didn't want to fool with it, and I kind of like being cold. But we would meet at 6:30, and the sun was coming up like maybe right at 6. So we'd meet at 6:30, get some coffee. If we wanted to have a little breakfast, we'd have a little breakfast. And everybody get on the same page. Hey, what are we looking for today? And we just hit it. And how we did it was, I keep calling him Cobus. Is it Cobus or Kubis? Kubis?
I call him Kubis. He responds to both of them.
Yeah, he does. I got his number in my phone as Cobus because I was just texting him. Mm-hmm. It's not too late there yet. But he would kind of be up front, and when we rode in the truck, they have one of those, kind of what you imagine in your mind as like a safari, like you're sitting in he had a pickup truck, a really cool Land Cruiser, by the way. I wish we could get those in the U.S. I don't think we can. Mm-hmm. A diesel Land Cruiser, and we had Philemon the tracker on a seat behind us, and we're all kind of, eyes peeled. And if normally, 9 times out of 10, they saw something way before we did. Oh, look, whatever. And we just scouted, and when we got to where we'd either see something or think that something would be there, we'd jump out and start tracking. And every single time, I was about to say most of the time, every single time we would check the wind and make big circles, because a lot of times when people ask me about that for whitetail hunting, I kind of poo-poo on the wind, like, whatever. I've killed a bunch of deer when I was stinky and whatever, but I saw it firsthand there in South Africa that the wind really does make a difference. So there, and my wife was with us too. So sometimes we would make pretty big circles, and she's over there. How far? I'm like, hey, we're here to hunt. We're on a mission. We can't slow down. And it was really fun too because they had Cape Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So even when you're on foot, it's kind of like, hey, we should probably keep our eyes peeled. But then Cobus, he had his 458 the whole time too.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of fun.
No one's ever allowed to leave camp without at least a 375, just in case you get into an altercation with an angry buffalo. Because they're dangerous game for a reason. They're not usually going to mess with you, but you're also going out into their house like that too.
Yeah, and we saw quite a few. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested in taking a Cape Buffalo.
I'll bet.
One of everything.
Yeah. Well, you got 5 animals, and there's still a whole lot left there that you haven't gotten yet. And buffalo, kudu, or 2 of them. Tell us a little bit about how you would shoot, because I know this is something that is very, most people that hunt in the United States don't shoot like this.
Yeah. So, and I only practice this because of you telling me to practice it. Maybe you might not have directly told me you should practice this, but you told me this is how we'd probably be shooting. So I did practice it. But yeah, everything I do at home is bench rest shooting. Even when I'm practicing for whitetail hunting or whatever, I'm practicing from bench rest. Just what I do, even more so mostly in a lead sled, which kind of takes a lot of the human error out of it. The wobble, the breathing has little effect when you have it in a lead sled, which I just like to do like that because I like to do precision groups and really test out the equipment. I'm not necessarily testing me, I'm testing the equipment, but I practiced beforehand off of a bipod. You're familiar with the brand Bog.
Oh,
yeah. They make bipods, tripods. Well, the one that I had at the house was a bipod with 2 feet, which is not exactly the most stable thing in the world. But how we hunted there was Philemon, he had his tripod sticks in the back of the truck, and he would carry them and grab it out, and we're doing all this stalking on foot and doing these circles to get the wind right. And the second he would see something, he'd throw the sticks up in an instant and say, "Get on the sticks," And the most fun, I don't know if I should say the most fun, but one of the very fun ones. They were all fun ones. Some of them took longer than others, between finding things and not spooking them and then getting on one before we spooked it, was the Impala, which was the last thing I took on the trip. So we spotted them in some thick stuff, and we're, moving on foot to kind of get a hole. I hadn't even seen him with my eyeballs yet, but Philemon did. And he's like, over here, and we're being quiet, and I'm following his hand motions, stop or get down, the whole thing. It's super fun hunting with those guys, staying behind him so the animals aren't seeing me and my wife and cameraman and the PH and Philemon. Were just and he throws up the sticks and he's like, "Get on the sticks," and I don't even see the things yet, but I pull up the 6.5 Creedmoor and I'm looking, and I think Cobus kind of grabbed my rifle and directed me exactly because he had seen them too. And I'm looking through this hole in the thick brush, maybe 3 or 4 feet wide. And then sure enough, here comes Impala. And Cobus, he's like in my ear, he's like, doe, or not doe, they're
use.
Use. He's like,
Yeah.
use. And he's like, that's a small ram. That's a small one. And then he says, oh, that's a big one. And then right, and I'm on this small hole, right? And right when he said that, boom. And since I was hunting with suppressors, you can hear the bullet hit him.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew right then I had got it. But that was just fun. I mean, that was the short story, but we probably watched 7 or 8 walk through that little hole. And then finally, we hadn't even seen if there was a big ram in that group yet, but sure enough, there was. And boom. I heard it hit. And Philemon and Cobus, they had their binos up, so they're watching them. And he said, yeah, you smoked that thing. And I'm looking, it's not there. And it ended up running like 50 yards straight back away from us. But so much fun hunting that way. And to me, I almost always hunt by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much more fun to be hunting with other people and, high-fiving and all that stuff.
That's right.
I mean? Yeah. It's just fun. It's just fun.
When I was over there last year, I had a similar thing go down with an Impala where we spotted something moving up ahead of us. I got up on the sticks and Philemon's watching and he's like, there's a big ram in the back. I'm going to whistle when it's in the clear. And same deal, right? Female, young ram. It was about 20 or 30 of them came through. And then finally he's like, okay, here's the big one. And it steps out and it's walking and he starts whistling and it stops broadside and just looks at me. And then I shot it and it ran, 10, 20 yards after that. But it is so cool when it all comes together like that. Because we had stalked, this was the case with us. We had just gotten out and we'd been walking for like 2 or 3 miles. And we'd see some Impala or we'd see some wildebeest or whatever and just couldn't quite close the deal on them. But it all came together with that group where we actually saw them before they saw us. And I put him in the salt.
You say that. I had never heard that until I went to South Africa, that putting them in the salt saying. Mm-hmm. First time I heard it, I had to think, what?
What the heck are you talking about? Yeah, so for those that don't know what we're talking about, they put the taxidermy, the stuff that you're going to get taxidermied for an animal, the hides, the head, and that stuff, literally in a giant pile of salt in a skinning shed. They'll skin it, flesh it, do all that stuff, and then put everything in the salt and rub that salt into it to preserve it for days, weeks until it gets to the taxidermist, and then they can actually start doing work on it. So we got a big skinning shed full of all the stuff that everyone's been shooting there recently, and now your stuff's in there too.
Yeah, that really was a nice setup, how they had it, kind of the skinning door or whatever you have with the epoxy floor and everything. Mm-hmm. And then they had the butcher rails is what I call it, they could hook stuff and just wheel it right into the
freezer. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's a sweet setup. If I ever build something like that, I'm going to do it. That was super cool.
So you shoot an animal, you get it down, you take pictures of it, and then, right, Kubis tells you, okay, what do you want me to do with this? And so where do you, are you getting shoulder mounts for most of your animals?
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. The zebra too? You get the shoulder mount out of the zebra, or are you getting a rug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll get a rug next time.
All right. So you got all them down. You told them what you wanted to do. Load it in the truck, drive back to camp. Hoist it up in the skinning shed, skin it, butcher it there, take all the taxidermy stuff into the taxidermy shed, take the meat literally straight into the freezer. And the question that a lot of people always ask is, what the heck do you do with the meat? Can I take the meat home with me? The answer is no, you can't take the meat home with you due to USDA regulations and this and that. But you can eat it while you're there. So tell us a little bit about what the food was like in the game that you had.
So we ate some Cape Buffalo, and we ate some wildebeest. The wildebeest that I shot, we had wildebeest burger. We had wildebeest, I call it pie, where you have like roast beef and then it's like fried on the outside, meat pie, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then we had wildebeest steaks, wildebeest tenderloin, and it was all very good. I cleaned my plate every meal. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we had it cooked there, and everything he made, we all ate, and we ate good.
Yeah, Lutando used to work for a like a tourist resort somewhere in South Africa, and we were looking for a cook because our current one was having health issues, and a friend of a friend of a friend is like, hey, this guy he's a good cook and he's looking for a job. And man, they were paying him garbage at that place. Like I think we almost tripled his salary putting him on the payroll at camp. And man, everybody just loves the work that he does. He is a really good cook.
Yeah, we never had the same thing twice. We were there for 5 full days and eating 3 meals or whatever, 2.5 meals maybe, and we never had the same thing twice, and it was all super good.
Yeah, a guy that was there, he might have been either right before you or 2 hunts before you. He killed a buffalo, and I'm sure it was his buffalo that you were eating when you were there. And so now there's probably the guy that we got there right now. He's probably eating your Impala and Blessbach and what's left from your wildebeest. But I'm glad that you got to enjoy that wildebeest. They're really good.
It was good.
So I'll tell you first. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, last night was the sneak peek video where I maybe that was 2 nights ago. Either way, I kind of did like little bits and pieces of while we were there and kind of what the camp looked like and stuff. After that video, people have been asking me, what did the zebra taste like? We didn't eat the zebra. And I asked Philemon, I said, do you eat the zebra? He said, zebra's not very good. And I mean, it's just like anything else. I'm sure you can eat it and people do eat it. But he said, out of all the stuff, zebra doesn't taste that good.
I ate zebra on a hunt in Namibia many years ago. My very first trip over, that was darn near 20 years ago. And we were staying with a like literally in the same house as my professional hunter and his family. And so his wife was cooking for us every day, and like his kids would be there in the morning, and then they'd go to school and stuff, and then they'd come back. Actually, no, sorry, they were going to boarding school because it was so far away, but they'd be back on the weekends. And so we were there for like a little over a week. So they were there for a couple of days. But after my dad shot a zebra on that hunt, and this was right before the kids got back, and we were like, hey, we want to try and eat the zebra. And they're like, listen, we've never eaten zebra before. We don't know. But they're like, well, we'd be happy to cook it up and see what the deal is. And the guy's wife was a very good cook. And I remember like that night when we were getting ready to eat it, like the kids had just gotten back. It was like a Friday or something. And I heard like the daughter, who was maybe 10, ask the mom. She was speaking in Afrikaans, but I could understand her saying, what are we eating for dinner? And I heard zebra in the answer. And the girl goes, zebra. And you could tell she was very upset about it. And mom's like, listen, like, it's going to be okay. And actually the zebra was really good that night. I don't know what she did to cook it, but I remember it being good. That said, I've had a lot of things that were better over there than zebra. And that is probably why Philemon was saying that about the zebra, because when you shoot, you go over there and do this a couple times, you'll start to pick out the stuff that's really good. Like wildebeest is good, Impala is good, but Blessbach is fantastic, Gemsbach fantastic, Eland is the best meat I've ever had in my entire life, ever.
Wow.
And the nice thing about eland is they are gigantic animals. A big bull eland will be bigger than a buffalo, and you get literally a ton of meat off of one of them.
I need to put that on my list too.
Mm-hmm. They are the biggest antelope in the world. They're massive creatures. Did you see any?
I don't think I did. If we did, it was like once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we did. Maybe we did. I don't know. But like they had some horns at the camp that were gigantic, like monster eland. Because our zoo in Nashville has some, and they are not near as big as the ones they had there.
There are eland there, but they're not just covered up in eland like they are with Impala, for instance, or wildebeest, zebra, or kudu. But like, we don't shoot nearly as many eland as we do the other stuff. But man, the ones that guys do shoot are just, I mean, they're the size of a Land Cruiser. They're gigantic animals. But yeah,
and there was a huge sable there too. I'm talking about huge. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they're the black fur, mostly black, and their horns go straight back. We saw a monster so big that I was debating on taking it. It might be hard to find another one that big anywhere. Big.
It's funny how that works too, man. Like there are some nice sable in that area. Now they're more expensive, but they are just beautiful animals, and some guys just really are into it. And everyone that shoots a sable there also is getting just an absolute monster for the most part.
And going into the hunt, we didn't book a zebra either. But when I got there on the flight and stuff, I tell my wife, like, I really would like to take a zebra. And the zebra, they're not very expensive if you add it on either, especially compared to some of the other things, sable and kudu, black Cape buffalo. And my wife, oh, they're cuddly little things, and I said, no, they're not. A zebra will try to kill you. Like, they're mean animals. And then when we got there, I told Cobus, I think I'd like to take a zebra too. Is that cool? And he kind of confirms what I was already saying. He said, oh yeah, the zebra. I know a guy that got bit by a zebra, took a hunk out of his arm. And my wife's like, okay, yeah, let's get one. But yeah, I ended up adding a zebra too. And that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, zebra are mean animals. They fight with each other all the time. And it is so, like, they'll run in a herd, and you'll have, say, like one male and a bunch of females and little ones in a herd. And so that male will fight off all the other males to keep him away from his ladies. And he'll also fight off predators in cases where they're around. And so, like, a big old stallion zebra will be covered in scars. And
yeah, the one that I got had scars all over him.
Yeah, so I shot one that was a younger stallion. He was mature, but he was not a dominant stallion, and he had a real clean hide. And on the same hunt, my dad shot a very old zebra, and his was just, it was like someone just attacked it with a knife, man. There were scratches all over it probably from leopards and other zebras and all of that stuff, trying to get on him like that. So you got one of the older ones with a lot of character, as they say.
Yeah, he wasn't like torn up, but just looking at him like, whoa, there's a scar, there's a scar, there's a scar. And looking at zebras, if you don't know any better, a lot of them look the same, like female, male, like if you're not an expert, like, the guys we're with, I don't know what that is. I don't know which one's the best one, but we got on the zebras, and we were able to get almost 100 yards with them before they knew we were there. And right when we're getting up on the sticks, they're I think a couple of them had already started taking off. And Cobus is like, that one on the left, that's a good one, and dropped him right there. And yeah, he had scars. His hoofs were old and worn down, and beat up and cracked. Like, yeah, I could tell, yeah, this was a good one. Not knowing nothing about zebras, but once I got close up to it, I was like, oh, this was a good one.
Yeah, the ability of Cobus and Philemon to spot game and judge it real quickly is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing with the wildebeest. Like, I shot the wildebeest at 225 yards. The scope I had on that one had 24 power zoom. So once I got them in there, I crank it up all the way. And they had pretty much alerted they had run, actually. So we got on them kind of in that grass bottom. And then they ran a little bit, and then we got on them again, coming back around. And they had kind of alerted and seen us about the same time that we had saw them. And there was one that was, wildebeest looked the same too, male and female. They both have horns, right? So I'm looking 225 yards and just kind of, and he said, the one on the far left is the biggest one. That's the one you should shoot. And then there's like one random tree in the middle of this bottom. And of course, the biggest one gets behind that tree. And I'm like, he said, if you want to shoot a different one, the one second from the right, that's the second biggest one. I'm like, that's a good one to me. He was slightly bigger in the horns than his ears. I said, oh, hey, that's good to me. I'd rather take this one than we booger them and have to chase them for another day. You know what I mean? So boom, and I dropped that one, the same thing right where it stood. But so every single hunt was fun.
So what was the ranges that you shot all these animals at?
So Blessbach, and this will all be in the videos that come out. So y'all don't forget to watch the videos because they're going to be awesome. Blessbach, same thing. We kind of boogered them the first time we tried to get on them, but then we got back on the two that were hanging out together. And I think we got within about 70 yards of those with the 6.5 Creedmoor. And then the wildebeest was 225 yards with 30-06, and every single shot was off of sticks. The zebra, I think, was about 100 or 120 or so. Not super far. The impala, it was back in some thick stuff, but even though that was probably 90 yards, maybe 90, 100. And then the steenbuck was about 100, 120. Not too far. So average about 100 yards, really.
Yeah, so not long shooting. That shot on the wildebeest is a little bit unusual for that area, but it happens, especially in that big dry riverbed that goes right through the middle of that area, and that's dry this time of year.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. He said in the rainy season that'll be swampy, and
yeah, it's literally a river that goes through there. It looks completely different. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be over in March, and I'll bet that it will be a river when I go back over there like that.
I mean, to me, that made it more fun. I mean, because we had gotten on wildebeest 3-4 times prior, and boogered them. We're stalking them on foot and the thick parts. And there was another situation with the wildebeest where we're filming, and we were probably we were inside of 50 yards sneaking up on them, but it's thick. Where we found them on I think it was the very first day. And it was kind of the same thing where I got on them in the scope, and it's like 2 seconds, and I'm just waiting for that extra little just to make sure the cameraman's on it. And they smelled us and pooh, ran for the hills. Like we did quite a bit of stalking on foot for those wildebeest. But the first couple times when they smelled us, they just took off and didn't stop. It's like, we're not going to catch them. They're running faster than us.
Hunter Russ in the comments, Adam, is Colin. He just stopped in to say hi. I told him that we were going live. There you go.
Hey.
Good to see you, Colin. Thanks a lot for joining us. I was just up in Wyoming at the Bergara Academy with him, and he was also in Colorado with us. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're over there. You hunted 5 full days. Food was good. A lot of walking. A lot of getting stalks on animals. Sometimes it worked out. Sometimes it didn't. You end up shooting 5 animals. What was it like, kind of wrapping everything up and getting back to the airport and getting home?
So my flight left Johannesburg. So that went there and back the same way through Atlanta, from Nashville to Atlanta. So we got to Johannesburg, Delta, same on the way back. I think my flight left at 5:30. And so Yossi, which I appreciate that guy big time too. Such a nice dude. Like, we ended up hanging out with him a lot. Nicest guy in the world. I don't know how much time you hung out with him, but super nice guy. He took us to the airport. He picked us up on the way there, and he took us back. And when we got to Delta, I mean, it's almost essentially the same thing in the States. So went to the register, just like they have at most airports here, Delta, whatever. Told them the same thing. Here's my bag full of clothes, and this one has a locked case of guns. They said they don't care about that. Or locked case of ammo, rather. Then this is the big gun case. I've got guns in here. Same piece of paper as in the States. The orange piece of paper that says, I promise you or confirm that there's no loaded guns in here. Put it in a box. And then that guy at the desk said, wait here, and we're going to send you to the back with somebody else. So, okay. So then somebody else came with me and said, come with me. We essentially went to this back room that was right behind the desk, just a small room. And that guy just looked at my paperwork. The paperwork we already talked about, that 4457 and my South African police form, and just said, yep, the serial numbers on these matches the paperwork, which honestly, I don't even think he looked at it. I think he was just kind of like, actually, he literally said this. He said, you look like a nice guy. I'm not really going to check it. I trust you. I don't think he even looked at the serial numbers, to be honest. His eyes weren't that close to read them, I don't think. That's literally what he told me. You look like a nice guy. I know you're not trying to be screwy. And then close the thing. He said, I think he was really fishing for a tip, which I probably would have tipped him, but I had absolutely zero cash on me because he was being like over the top overly nice to me. You're a nice guy, and where are you from? And oh, you were hunting by my grandma's house or whatever. Had this long, super nice conversation. But he said, I promise you, I will get your guns on the plane and you don't have to worry. Super nice guy.
And your stuff made it on the plane too, didn't it?
Yeah, and I had no problems. And then went and got on the plane. No problems. I mean, it's just like, essentially just like flying in the U.S. Almost exactly, aside from the extra step of the guy in the back room that looked at your paperwork and said, I'll get it on the plane. And that was it.
So what, if you had to pick one part, what would you say your favorite part of that hunt was?
So that's really tough. So going into it, I think I was most excited about the blue wildebeest. And then because it's just a big animal that we don't have here, like we take a bunch of deer and something that's over there that's a big game animal. Like impala, it's kind of like a deer. That was super cool. Everything I took was cool. But I think the wildebeest was my favorite part. One, just because I feel like it's more on the exotic end. I never even seen one in my life. And we got to get on them several times. It was, and then we got them at kind of an extended distance and dropped it, and it all panned out perfect. But I mean, kind of like I said before, just hunting with other people makes it more fun to me than like, yeah, I go out in the woods and get a deer by myself. Like, yay me, But when you're hunting with other people, it's just a whole lot of fun. And the whole time they were teaching me, hopefully they didn't get too tired of my questions, but here's a different type of wildebeest. Black wildebeest, I want to get one of those, which you can hunt those too there. They up the road at a different place, or I guess those type of wildebeest prefer a different type of topography or whatever.
Black wildebeest like more open terrain than the blue wildebeest do.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said if we go hunt those, they're in the more open ranges, and bring a gun that can shoot pretty far, which we have some of those.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that later, but we have a place in a different part of South Africa where it's up in the mountains, real open. There's some of the same species at both places, but there's all the open country stuff that's up there in the mountains. Black wildebeest, springbok. There's
a different type of zebra.
Yep,
mountain zebras, which have a different kind of stripe. I'd never seen those before.
Yep. So you hunted a Burchell zebra or a plain zebra, and most people, when they go to Africa and shoot a zebra, that's what they shoot. And they have some mountain zebra in the mountains of South Africa and in Namibia. My dad shot a mountain zebra in Namibia many years ago. I want a mountain zebra on my next trip over next year.
Sweet.
So let's see here. Tell us real briefly about that ostrich nest that you encountered over there. That was super cool.
Yeah. So I just posted that to Instagram earlier today. So I don't know how many ostrich we saw while we were hunting, but we saw quite a few. And if you want to hunt an ostrich, you can hunt an ostrich. That's a thing. I don't know how many people hunt them there, but you can do it. That might be an interesting mount, ostrich coming out of the wall. I don't know. But they had told us that they knew of one that had eggs that it was laying on. And sure enough, we saw the nest. And the nest, I say nest, it's just sandy dirt that the ostrich has kind of, tracked around into a circle, probably 4 or 5 foot in diameter, and then it had 15 eggs it was laying on, and they said they were about to hatch, that it had been laying on them for a while. So,
like, how big were the eggs?
Bigger than a softball. So probably just slightly bigger than a softball, and they're not perfectly round.
So a little bit smaller than a football.
Yeah, probably half a football.
Man, that's really cool. I've seen ostrich, but I've never seen ostrich eggs before like that. That's pretty slick. I'm glad you got to experience that. So that's, man. Yeah, so that's all the other interesting thing about it too, right? So you're out there, you're hunting for animals and all that, but man, you're just seeing so much other stuff. You saw ostrich. I'm sure you saw giraffe, right?
Yep. Several.
you saw buffalo, you were seeing other species you weren't hunting, Inyala, kudu. Like, how many kudu did you see while you were over there?
Too many to count.
Yeah.
It seemed like when we saw the females, though, they would be quite a bit together, but then we'd see the males, it would be normally one by itself.
Yeah. This time of year, September, October, you can hunt kudu all year long, and like they've rut in April, May, but really September, October in the dry season, like when you were over there, man, that is when some of the biggest kudu get killed. You can see them a lot better, and there's not as much food and stuff for them. They tend to move around a lot more, like whitetail during the rut.
And there were a few times where I did not see them, and they'd be like just behind like one little bush, and then all of a sudden, oh, like they are huge.
Yeah, they're about the size of an elk, man. They're big animals.
Yeah, they have a mount of one in the lodge, and it's pretty big.
So you brought your wife and you brought a camera guy on this hunt. But you're also talking about going back. You want to bring, what do you think about bringing your sons and going on a hunt, something like that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Yeah. Just kind of what I'm kind of thinking of is like maybe everybody take an Impala and one bigger thing like a kudu or a Nyala sable, and then everybody takes an Impala. I think they would have a blast. Or maybe zebra. What do you want, a zebra or Impala? I don't know. I think they would have a lot of fun. I know they would have a lot of fun.
I'm taking my kids over next year. We're not going to hunt on that trip. Maybe just a tiny bit, but it's going to be more of just a family trip than anything else. And I can't wait to see my kids kind of experience that, see all these animals they've just seen in the zoo.
Well, and Cobus even said, because I was telling him that while we were here, I'd love to bring my kids, and he said, bring them. He said, there's even a good fishing spot up the road. I'll take you guys fishing and all this stuff. So they were super nice. And they said there's a big, like, protected park. I forget the name, that wasn't too far. He said, we'll go to the park and we'll see all the other stuff. And he said, bring them. We'll have a good time.
Yeah. So, Marakele, I think that's how you pronounce it. National Park's about 2 hours away from there, maybe an hour and a half.
I was thinking it was an M. That's it.
They have elephant there. They have rhino there. There's a bunch of antelope and stuff too. It's up in the mountains, so it's a little bit different terrain from what you were hunting. They also have, I've never seen them there, but they have lion and leopard there too. So it's a cool thing to do. You can go there for the day and see those other things that you're not going to necessarily see while you're hunting. Yeah, that'll be pretty slick. And so
I would like to see an elephant.
Yeah, it's cool seeing that first elephant for the first time. It's a pretty amazing experience.
And another thing that a lot of people have asked me about, so I was asking them about stuff the whole time we were there because I've never been there before, and I was pretty much clueless about everything. If it's in Africa, they can pretty much get you on it. There are a couple things that he said you have to get permits for, like some type of monkeys and rhino and maybe a jaguar, that he said most of the stuff you just have to know a little bit ahead of time, and it's not a big deal. Get the paperwork, but they got it in Africa. They can get you on it.
They don't have jaguar, but they do have leopard. And
leopard,
leopard and lion. It's challenging. Same thing with elephant and with rhino, but you can get permits to hunt them and bring them into the United States. It's that's a more involved process than going and shooting an impala or a kudu or even a buffalo.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious, and going into it, you might think that a lot of that stuff you can't hunt. You can essentially hunt anything if you want to, just about.
Yeah, in South Africa, in Namibia in particular, they have very good, well-regulated hunting for those real high-profile animals. Like rhino get a lot of attention for poachers and all of that stuff. But you can hunt them. It's very tightly controlled, and getting a permit is hard, but you can do it, and people do it. And it's one of those things that the money generated from those hunts is what pays for the anti-poaching and whatnot to protect them from poachers. And so you're going over there and you're shooting an old male instead of just kind of any old thing, any of that stuff. And you have to get a CITES permit to bring a lot of these more specialized animals in, but it can be done. And so, that's the track a lot of people go down. They go on a basic plains game hunt first, and then they start feeling more comfortable with it. Then maybe go back for a little bit different plains game, maybe go back for buffalo. And then, some guys later on down the line are looking at, leopard or whatever after that. So
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm jealous that I did not get to go with you on this trip, but I'm looking forward to my next trip over, and I'm glad that you had a fantastic time. I mean, and I'm glad that this was a pretty seamless process overall, because when I built this business, I built it in a way to kind of hit the easy button, right? Fix all the problems and the pain points that I had on my previous hunts, where I couldn't figure out how to do something like the SAPS 520. I figured it out, but then now I know it's something you look at for the first time. You're like, this thing is 8 pages long and there's like 50 things for me to fill out. What do I need to fill out? And so I just give you instructions on how to do it. And I give you a packing list on the things that you need. And there's a picture of where you got to go in the airport to get picked up, and the picture of who's going to pick you up, and the phone number, who's going to pick you up, and then handle everything with the taxidermist when you get back, and all of that stuff. You can pay with a credit card doing these hunts. So it's just, like I said, it's all the pain points that I was frustrated with that I've worked to fix with big game hunting adventures. And I'm glad that you had that similar experience too.
Yeah, super easy. So, and I told you what John is talking about. So we booked the hunt, and then we're getting closer to the time of me flying. He sent me a document that you've made. It's 15 to 20 pages. And I probably read it slowly 5-6 times, not to the point of memorizing it, but to be familiar and get rid of any worry that I had. Literally, when we got into the airport, I said, "Oh, here's the floor where that like rainbow colored floor that you had in that book." I said, "We're going the right way." But yeah, every step of the way, super easy to get there. It was not a big or hard thing to do whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. For you, the listener, the watcher that wants to come over and do this, go to WHOTEEWHOAfrica.com. Adam put it in the comments. I am offering special bonuses to all of Adam's subscribers and followers that book a hunt with us. Go through there, take a look, see what you might be interested in. Go to the contact form. You can send me an email that way, and I'll give you the scoop on everything that's going on. I just sold my last hunt for 2024. I have a handful of spots open for 2025. One in March, one in late August, going into September. The rest of September is open, early October, and then late October, early November next year. I'm about to open bookings for 2026, and when I do that, I'm going to raise the prices a little bit. But if you book for 25 before I raise prices, you can hunt next year on the old prices. And then, like I said, about a month, I'll start opening bookings for 2026. So if you want to hunt then, let me know, and I'll put you on the waiting list. You'll be one of the first people that I contact to come over. We pick you up at the airport. We help you with your guns, do all the paperwork, all of that stuff, drive you to camp. Like I said, it's about a 4-hour drive to get to the camp that Adam was hunting in the Bushveld. Adam was the only guy that was there. So he was there with his wife and the camera guy, but we only do one group at a time. So you're not going to be there with people that you don't know. There's plenty of space if you want to bring your wife or your kids or your friend or whatever, any of that stuff. There's plenty of space, and you can have a couple people there hunting together if you want. But you're not going to be there with other people that you don't know, and you're not going to have to be sharing anything like that with anyone that you don't know if you don't want to. And we hunt on just over 100,000 acres total spread out through the country. So Adam was in Limpopo province in the Bushveld. I talked about it a minute ago. Our new place in the Free State. We're going to do our first hunt there later this year, and we'll do more hunts there next year. That's up in the high country in the Free State in further south. You're maybe 8,000 feet above sea level there, higher elevation, more open country. It's a little bit different animals there. Like I said, there's kudu and impala and whatnot in both places, but down there in the Free State, that's where you have black wildebeest. There's springbok. We have red hartebeest in both places, but there's a lot more of them down in the Free State. Mountain zebra there, mountain reed buck, a lot of that stuff. And so it's something that you could go and you can hunt only there if you wanted to, or only in Limpopo if you wanted to, or you can split it in both places if you wanted to do hunt multiple camps, multiple species, that sort of thing. But I'm only advertising stuff for Limpopo right now, but that's going to change. Let me know if you want to hunt the Free State for things like hartebeest or springbok or black wildebeest, and we can get you set up and take you on a great hunt down there. I am going over myself in 2025 on a hunt with a couple of podcast listeners, and I have tentatively one spot left open on that hunt in July of next year. So let me know if you might be interested in joining us on that hunt, or you can book one of the other dates and go over just yourself or just your wife or your son or whoever wants to go with you. Gosh, what else have I not talked about that was important to you on this hunt? It was safe. It was the easy button. We just kind of took care of everything, Adam. Anything else that we need to emphasize?
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about that for a second too, because I have had a couple people ask me, the things you see on TV, and I really had zero preconceived notions of the safety factor, but everywhere we went, there was never a single time where I didn't feel safe. And we stopped at some hole in the wall places on the side of the road and so on and so forth. It was almost odd because every single person we came across, it seemed like they were just happy. And I'm like, I'm not used to being around people that are just happy. Even the little random store, in the middle of nowhere, everybody's, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And everybody spoke English everywhere we went to.
Yeah, South Africa has like 15 official languages or something like that. It may not be that many, but it's several official languages, and English is one of them. And most people speak it at least okay when they're there. But you had someone that was with you all the time, right? As soon as you came out of customs, you met up with Yossi, and it was the same thing until you got back through the gate to get back on your flight and go home. And so, they kind of handle all of that other stuff and make sure that you're not wandering around kind of lost by yourself. Everything's taken care of. And then we get you out of the, there are unsafe places in South Africa, but we try and get you out of the city and whatnot, and out to where we hunt as soon as possible. And really, I mean, that's what you're there for anyway. Get out there and hunt. And so safety and fun is our two paramount concerns with that. And I'm glad that was fulfilled with you as well. And let's see here. What else? Kind of everything was taken care of, all the food, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
To include your alcoholic beverages while you were over there.
And, I mean, and we drank a lot of water. I mean, we drink a lot of water anyways, but yeah, I mean, it was air-conditioned place we stayed in. My wife went and she had a good time, if that tells you anything. And she's not really an outside person.
Yeah. Yeah, I brought my wife there, and I'm bringing my kids back there next year, and I know we're all going to have a good time, and a lot of people do that. So it's a good place for that. You can bring your younger child there to hunt, age appropriate, but it is a place where you can do that and set it up in a way to do that where it's safe and where they're going to have fun, and there's a reasonable chance of success for it. We handle families there a lot of times, and so if you're worried about, is your wife going to like this place or anything like that, Adam's wife liked it. My wife liked it. My wife is coming back. I'm bringing my mother-in-law on this next trip over too. And so
cool.
So it's going to be a good deal. And like, she's also not a super outside person. So if I'm bringing her there, I know she's going to have a good time, and we'll take care of her like that. But above all else, I mean, the hunting is just fantastic there too. And I've never seen anything like it. I've hunted all over the United States. I've hunted in 3 different countries in Africa, and this is the best place I have ever been to in terms of just the quality of hunting and the quality of people and staff, your PH, all those other people there. Everyone that I've hunted with in Africa has been great. These guys were the best.
And I, like I said at the beginning of the podcast here, I'm still smiling. And I've said it in a bunch of videos, even leading up to it. It is not as expensive as you would think. And people, I've gotten some pretty nasty messages even today of people saying, I'm calling BS on you. Quit lying to your people. I'm not lying. The price list is literally on the website, guys. You can go look at it. And what we did with the Plains game, it's not as expensive. And I've even had a couple of those nasty people come back and say, I'm sorry, man. It really is what you said, after they went and looked at the website. So For me, I mean, that's one of the big hurdles people would have, right? How much does it cost? Mm-hmm. Get on the plane, and there's no hidden fees, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you guys took care of the food and the travel and everything. I'm sure there probably are a bunch of other people that do have hidden fees. Or, oh, that's a big one, you know, that costs double, you know. And there's no monkey business.
Yeah, there are places that charge by the inch. We don't do that, right? Charge the same thing for a good kudu as an outstanding kudu. It's the same one flat price for all of that stuff. And like I was saying with the trophy fees earlier, if you go over there and you plan on booking a package like Adam did, and okay, it's cost this much for these 4 animals. He initially planned on shooting a warthog, but didn't end up shooting one. Just never quite worked out, and so he didn't pay the trophy fee for a warthog, and that's fine. He paid trophy fees for the other things that he ends up shooting, so it's flexible like that. It's not like going on a guided hunt some places where you book that guided elk hunt, you pay the same price whether you kill an elk or not.
Yeah, and I was having that conversation with Yossi over dinner, and, you know, because we got on the topic of how much stuff costs, and I told him that. I said, the cheapest elk hunts that I've had an elk tag 3 times, and I still have yet to shoot an elk. I'm going to try to change that in January, but the cheapest guided elk hunts that I could find when I got the tags was $6,000-$7,000 with a 30% success rate.
Jeez, man.
Yes. So if you go to South Africa, you're going to have a lot better success rates. Let me tell you.
Well, so you put it this way. So your 7-day hunt that you went on for blue wildebeest, blessbok, impala, warthog, $5,220 to get over there to do that. You need to buy your plane ticket and whatnot to get over there too as well. But I mean, yeah, you stack that up to a non-resident elk hunt in a state in the United States, especially in a place like Wyoming, where you could pay almost $2,000 now for a tag through the special draw. And then, of course, you still need to get to Wyoming and whatnot too. You might be able to drive, but you might have to fly. It does compare favorably like that. And then this is a case where if you don't shoot something, you don't pay for it. If you go over there and you have really good accommodations and you're going to see lots and lots of stuff, you'll see lots of other things that you're not hunting to. So it's really cool. Now, Jacob just asked a very good question on price per hunter, 1-on-1, 2-on-1. 1-on-1 is one hunter with one guide. 2-on-1 is, say, like when you bring a friend over and you have 2 hunters that are sharing one guide like that. So you get a little bit of a break on the fee that you're paying your guide like that because you only have one guide. So if you go over just by yourself, you have to go 1-on-1. But if you're in a group with a friend or family member or something like that, you can pay a little bit more and have each have your own guide, go split up, go your own ways each day, or you can save a little bit of money and share a guide like that. You'll just be with each other the whole time. Some people enjoy doing it that way, especially a father-son or something like that, or sometimes friends. It's just more fun for them to hunt together, and then that's fine. We can do it either way.
I think it's fun hunting with people, but that's just me.
I agree. Well, like I said, go to WHOTEEWHOAfrica.com to learn more about this. You can check me out at the Big Game Hunting blog or the Big Game Hunting podcast on YouTube. To learn more about just kind of the other stuff about Africa. I talk about Africa all the time on my podcast, not just the hunting side of it, but the logistical side of it. Look at episodes 254 and 264 on the Big Game Hunting podcast. You can watch those on YouTube if you want, or wherever you get your podcasts. I talk about just the logistics of getting to and from Africa, taxidermy, things like that, all those kind of other things that are not associated with the actual hunt. I direct a lot of people to those, and it answers a lot of the questions. And of course, with all of this stuff, you can contact me through the website. Happy to answer any of the questions that you have, and we would love to have you on a hunt next year or going forward. And like I said, we are offering special bonuses specifically to fans of WHOTEEWHO on there. But email me for details, and we can talk about it.
And I'm going to try to snag one of those spots later in the year next year, but we'll see what happens.
All right, sounds good, Adam. We'll talk offline about that, and we'll see what we can do to get you back over there and get you a good hunt with your boys this time.
That will be awesome. I appreciate you coming on, John, and y'all. I'll have the links down below where you can find John and find out more information about going to South Africa.
All right, thanks a lot for having me, Adam. It was a pleasure hosting you on that hunt, and we'll do it again sometime.
Sounds good. See ya.
See ya.